In this video presentation, we are talking about the Vietnam War, and information on this presentation can be found in Chapter 25, Sections 1 through 3 in your orange textbook. We'll be dealing with Goal 11, Objective 4, and Objective 6. Goal 11.04 is identify the causes and effects of the U.S. involvement in Vietnam, and 11.06 is assess the consequences of political events, actions, and reactions. Our essential questions are: why did the U.S. become involved in Vietnam? What were the causes and effects of America's growing involvement in the Vietnam War? How did the American war effort in Vietnam lead to rising protests and social divisions at home? And how did the Vietnam War end? Vietnam had been divided into two countries, much like Korea, North and South. Ho Chi Minh was a communist leader of North Vietnam. He wanted to reunite all of Vietnam under communist rule. Does this sound familiar? Vietnam had previously been a French colony, imperialized by the French. In 1954, the French lost to the communist forces at Dien Bien Phu. Ho wanted independence, but the U.S. supported a separate government in South Vietnam. Part of this is because of the domino theory. The U.S. believed that if South Vietnam or other Asian countries fell to communism, the rest of Indochina would fall as well. Then communism would only spread and containment of communism would fail. For this reason, the U.S. devotes itself to keeping communism out of South Vietnam. The VIETCONG were the communist freedom fighters who were in South Vietnam trying to undermine the U.S. government there. They were opposed to U.S. intervention and the South Vietnamese ruler, Diem. They would use guerrilla warfare to fight the U.S. In this picture, you can see a VIETCONG soldier, and the bottom is a picture of a Buddhist monk who had set himself on fire in protest of the Vietnamese leader, Diem. This picture shows the underground tunnels that the VIETCONG built all through South Vietnam. And the idea was that they had this whole network and could kind of appear anywhere using guerrilla warfare and the element of surprise. In the bottom left-hand side, you see a member of the VIETCONG coming out of one of those little underground tunnels. They were often disguised as cooking pits. These are other weapons of the VIETCONG. They would dig these holes. They were traps that just covered with leaves, so if you fell into them, those sticks, which were called punji sticks, would of course stab into you and eventually kill you. The picture on the top right hand side is a similar idea. This was lethal if you stepped in it. They also had these steel arrow traps, and you see the picture at the bottom there. So very kind of primitive weapons, but treacherous. The element of surprise was huge for the VIETCONG. They would have these kind of booby traps set up. So, for example, the bag of rice, when you pulled on it to open it, would trigger a hand grenade. In the next video, we'll talk about how the U.S. became engaged in the war with the communists in Vietnam.